I'm worried. You're worried. We're worried. Let's worry. Hi, everybody. I'm Casey Grambo,
And I'm Kevin McDermott.
and we're performers at the CT Comedy Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. While our physical theater is shut down due to the pandemic, we're excited to bring our show, Little Worry, Big Worry, to you in this digital space. On each episode of Little Worry, Big Worry, we're joined by a very funny guest to talk about what we're worried about, the little silly things, and some bigger personal fears. We talk things over, break it all down, and hopefully by the end, we feel a little less worried. Kevin, how are you doing?
Casey Grambo, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's
I've
nice.
caught the spring fever, man.
Oh, God. It's amazing. 60 degrees today, 60 tomorrow.
Mhm. Mhm. I just feel so much better. I took your advice and went for a walk down by the river, the Connecticut River.
Very nice.
Um, I had never walked across Founder's Bridge before.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Founder's Bridge? That's what it
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, for some reason I was like, it's gonna be scary. It's on the highway. It's not scary. It's literally so serene.
It's a very wide promenade
It's a
between,
promenade. I could
yeah.
have had multiple hoop skirts and would have been I'd have
Oh,
plenty of
with all of your
space.
beaux and suitors following you, you could have taken up the entire promenade. Yeah.
Just
Oh,
what is it called? Stampede of
yeah.
suitors. Um,
That is an awesome walkway. And during pre-pandemic times when lunch hour for like travelers and the Phoenix and all the insurance companies down there is packed with people on
yeah.
a nice day. So you had a nice stroll though along.
Super nice stroll, very
Nice.
into it. I will say the Hartford side path does go, I think, a little longer. I feel like I walked the whole thing and I was like, okay, I think I did the whole thing. Um, the Hartford side's like woodsy in a way, but I will say the
Yeah.
East Hartford side is like very nice. Lots of
Yeah.
art, lots of
I
nice benches.
I love it. Did you see the giant latticework horse?
I did. And I took a picture
Yeah.
of it and sent it to my mom, who's a horse girl.
Awesome. It's so weird and perfect, and I love it right along the river there. Maybe it's like 15 or 18 feet tall,
It's
would you say?
huge-mongous. Yeah, not to say a word most people hate, but huge-mongous comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. I'm glad. Thank you for,
That was great. I
thank
think I'm
you.
gonna do it more.
Good. Oh, that's
Thank you.
awesome.
No, you can thank me for listening to you. I could have not done
Thank
it.
you for listening to my advice. Yeah, that's not what you're supposed to say. But no, riverfront recapture was actually what I recommended, and walking along the promenade there. So that's awesome. It's connected to your suggestion of suggesting something good last week of the book How to
Mhm.
Do Nothing, which I loved. I'm like halfway through it. I had some time and I tore through the first like 60 to 70 pages. Don't have as much time, but I can't wait to get back to it because that talks about getting out of the internet and technology connected obsessions of our lives and getting out to nature, which is
Yes,
wonderful.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you're enjoying it. I thought it was really good, and
I
I'm
love
glad
it.
that you charged ahead because yeah, it is kind of dense. So when you find the energy, I look forward to you get to the second half because it brings it home.
Nice. Well, it better. If it doesn't tie it all up, I'm gonna.
Burn the book.
Oh
Throw it
my
into the Connecticut River.
God. Yeah, I will throw it in the Connecticut River, and I'll actually throw it off the promenade and shoot it with my my barrel-loaded musket gun
There's a lot of
from the
gun
Colt
problems in
Armory
this
just
city,
down.
primarily
Yeah.
related to shooting guns or books off of a bridge. All right. Speaking of promenading and just in general being fabulous and out on the town, joining us today is a Connecticut-based improviser and comedian. He's performed improv in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and all along the East Coast. He currently teaches and performs improv comedy at the CT Comedy Theater. Please welcome our guest, Daniel Davidson.
Oh, here I come. Hi, guys.
Hi,
Thank you for
Daniel.
having me.
Oh my God, yeah.
Hi, Kevin. Hi,
Hi.
Casey.
Hi.
Hi. I'm really gonna try to focus straight ahead.
I
Oh,
never know where to look. I'm like, I don't know where my eyes should be,
I know.
but then I just am like, my eyes look weird, so that's fine.
You know what doesn't look weird, Daniel, is this your lovely corner of your home. It's chic.
This is a virtual background. Yeah, none of this is None of this is here. Yeah, if this virtual background were not here, your mouths would both be just agape the entire time, wondering if you should send help.
Is that couch made entirely of Wendy's wrappers? Oh my god. Yeah. Well, we're thrilled to have you on, Daniel. There's so much to get into. Should we hop right into some little worries?
I'm ready,
Sure.
and
All
I'm
right.
up in our
Heavens up.
rotation. Yeah, Casey and I rotate, and it is my turn up at bat for the little worry. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. My little worry. I am worried that I am becoming an old man very quickly. And really, this is manifesting just in very specific, very clearly identifiable old man behaviors. I'll detail just a couple, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
An observation.
I now must deeply tuck my shirt into my pants. I need to undo
That was a
my
relief.
belt.
Where is that?
Was it a general scary motion? No.
Deeply tuck something. Not that there's no problem in it, but I was like, what?
And the hand motion just for those
Sorry,
listening.
universe.
Yeah,
No judgment. I was like, is this something that happens to old men? Sorry.
Well, I don't know. I'm interested if maybe I'm misassociating these behaviors with old men, but
Or deeply
I
tuck
have
the
to.
shirt.
But while undoing my belt, like open and like deep tuck, because any wind underneath my shirt really irritates me now. I like, I listen to Prairie Home Companion. Is there anything more old than that? I mean, Garrison Keillor's problematic weirdo-ness aside, just his old program.
Yeah, you're listening to archival Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's old. It's old, right? Other things like this winter I made my own walking sticks. And I'm turning into an elderly gentleman, like a 65 to 75-year-old older gentleman, I feel like.
Made your own.
Yeah. And I was wholly invested in it.
What'd you say, Daniel? I want to
No,
know.
I was just wondering if you're leaving space to grow.
I'm leaving
Because
space
you're
to
not 65. I'm pretty sure.
No, I'm not. I'm in my early 40s, and just I find that the things that I like, I associate with like old. I don't, and this isn't an anti-age podcast. I'm not.
No,
I don't know.
this podcast stands for aging and dying.
We are age positive, all ages. But yeah, just my own behavior, I guess, is what I'm really worried about. That I'm just doing these old man things. I have for many years had a daily pill box, like a pill, all my daily medications and vitamins and supplements and stuff that I take, divided into daily pill, little push button door opens. I take my daily pills. That's what an 80-year-old does. I don't know. Maybe not. Am I off base on this?
I feel like, I mean, it's pretty old man. I mean, like, these are all things my grandpa does.
All things my grandpa does. That's
and he's lovely. I think it's nice. The wind on your not wanting wind on you. I mean, I tuck my shirts in to like keep my stomach away from my pants, like not to keep the wind, like not to keep the wind off my stomach. I mean, or to like show off my waist, but like to keep the wind off your stomach.
I feel like if a gust gets underneath my shirt when it is unsecured, it's very disquieting.
Daniel, you seem concerned.
I'm I'm trying. I'm just you and Kevin come at me at totally different times, so I'm like I'm listening to your responses. Um,
Oh no! Like this is like the timing of our sound.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. It's a little
Okay.
confusing, but I'm following it. I mean, I keep a pill case.
Oh,
I think that's just being responsible for your health. Um, and the walking stick, I'm gonna say this is just a pandemic hobby for you.
oh, oh! I like this framing of it, Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you only aged in the pandemic?
I think it predates the pandemic, but it's definitely accelerated. So I like where Daniel's head is at on it, it was a lot of boredom. But even before the pandemic, I have and had a favorite meteorologist. So I like on NBC4, if Bob Maxon isn't on in the mornings, my day is a little off kilter. If it's, Darren Sweeney or that goddamn Ryan Hanrahan, like I'm just like, these aren't my guys. I want my meteorologist. And that's what a 70-year-old person would say.
I mean, I've had a similar worry. Not, I don't think I do super old person things, maybe quite so much as you clearly do. Um, but I'm very cranky. I'm very cranky at and I get cranky at small things, and it occurs to me sometimes like this is only going to get worse. Uh, and if this is where I'm at whatever age I am now, I can only imagine what it will be in the future. But what makes me feel better is that my parents are much less cranky than they used to be, and they are quite
Mm.
elderly, and they are very easygoing. I mean, almost nothing seems to phase them in their old age. So I'm hoping maybe I will actually chill out.
So you feel like there's a curve of like in middle life, they reached peak crankiness and then have kind of are on the backside of crankiness now?
I could be right. It probably is a bell curve. I think that's
Mm.
right.
Hmm.
Everyone has that cranky bell curve because I mean, I think that there's a you when you're cranky, because I also am cranky. I was a very cranky college student, which I think was very unusual.
Hmm.
Um, I went through a big cranky phase from 18 to 22, and
Listen, we all experiment with crankiness in college, Casey. Everyone tries it on, sees like, how it fits. It's no big deal.
it didn't fit well. Because I think there's an immediate reaction or like some sort of oscillation, whether it's you know over the course of a life, and then I'm sure there's many ones where you're like, I am just intolerable. But I never feel that about other people who are cranky, but I think cranky recognizes cranky in others, and there's empathy.
Daniel, what have you been cranky about recently? Has there been anything that's really set you off that you can remember?
Oh, everything. I mean, it's pretty much everything. Um, it's like little. I think it's like a loss of a sense of control. That's usually what it comes from for me. So I was mentioning to you guys that I made a website last year, right around this time, thinking I'm not totally sure what, but and it was coming up, and it's $150 or something to renew and blah blah blah. And I thought, why? I mean, for to what end? And so specifically went on the website and I was like, do not auto renew. And then it did, or at least part of it did. Like the domain name did, but not the hosting or something.
Of course.
And so I saw it pop up um, on my phone. Tells me every time I get a charge on my credit card, I got a notification. And this was a morning in which I started out by meditating. Then I did like a stretchy yoga session, and then this thing popped up on my phone, and it was as if I had been like none of that had happened. I just was livid. I mean, why?
I miss you so much. I miss people who get mad about shit because it's like, it just shouldn't have happened. I fucking sorry, this doesn't matter if I swear, but I took care of this, and it shouldn't have happened, and then it happened, and it's like, why do I exist if what I do gets undone by idiots? That is
While I'm in down dog. God damn it.
Basically.
I love that it just
Yeah.
exploded your zen, like exploded any notion of calm that you had cultivated, just destroyed it.
so funny. Holy crap.
Daniel, I am relieved, and I thank you for that perspective on the walking sticks, because I think you're dead on that. I was like, I am so bored. I need something, a project to do, and I don't even remember what the catalyst was, but I was like, no, walking sticks, cool. And they
Wait.
were fun, and they turned out nicely. And then I made one with my son. He was like, oh, those look cool, and it's a super easy woodworking project. So anyway, that was it. The pillbox, I'm psyched that you have a pillbox. Are you generally like just healthy and you like the self-care in that realm?
I guess it depends on your view of pills, whether they are healthy or the opposite.
We are a pro
Um,
pill, pro aging, pro pill podcast.
Yeah.
from
And listen, if Daniel has a pill pocket holder for not pill pocket, that's for cats. Um, a pill holster for his psychedelics, then that so be it.
And you
they're
can, if
not
you subscribe to
they're
our
not
Patreon,
psychedelic.
we have a branded Little Worry, Big Worry pill distributor case,
Yeah,
actually.
check the Daniel just auto renewed the domain name for our merch website. It's danieldavidson.com. You can get all of our merch.
What is your view on pills, Daniel? I'm very curious to know now.
I've been trying to keep it in check. I grew up in a very vitamin friendly family. My parents take a lot of vitamins, and they're living quite an old age. Um, but there's not a lot of science behind taking a ton of vitamins, and so I will go through fad things here and there, and then realize because it doesn't seem like that much money. What's $15 if I'm going to live like 4 years longer or something?
Facts.
Right. But then I think, well, it's $15, and then I could spend that on like something I enjoy or something like legitimately healthy, maybe.
This has been
So I
Vitamin
try to
Talk
keep it in check,
on
but
Little Worry, Big Worry.
Oh, you try to keep it in check. It's so funny. I've had like well, first of all, my vitamin experience is it's so funny, like vitamin friendly. My family was vitamin friendly too, but like in like such like a it, like it was such like a goofy way. My dad would come downstairs every morning. He'd get ready for work earlier than everyone else, and then he'd be out the door. But he would leave 3 Flintstone vitamins on the counter. And when we walked by the counter, we had to pick up our Flintstone vitamin and eat it like while we walked out the door to go to school. And I will say a candy in the morning, like
Yeah.
heck yeah. But
A chalky, fruity candy.
basically a Vitatums. But
Vitatums.
the thing that's been I mean, I'm only gonna say this out loud because maybe someone else is also struggling with this too, is I have a medication where I have to take it on an empty stomach, but in order to take vitamins of certain kinds of vitamins, you have to take it on having eaten something. So to split the difference, I end up taking like women's Vita gummies so that like those don't actually make you puke when you eat them on an empty stomach. And I realize I'm, kind of backwards doing my medication, but I figured 2 tiny Vita gummies are not going to mess up my metabolism. So anyway, I have a whole choreography of my pills as well.
Get a pill box.
Yeah.
Daniel and I endorse it, and they're
absolutely.
not just for old people anymore.
I love it. Well, Kevin, yeah, I don't think you're that old. I think you're okay. I think
Okay.
both of you are, I mean, the deep tuck, I do it too, but
Okay.
maybe it's your intent behind it.
This really scared me. I don't know what this. I was like, what is happening right now?
It was deep tuck, wooden sticks, your pills, and then your meteorologist. Nate's got a favorite meteorologist,
Yeah.
so I think you're okay.
Well, I will offer, because I think it might
Kevin,
segue. sorry, I think it might segue into Daniel's little worry as well. Involuntary flatulence. Like just I will toot.
Involuntary?
You just like it happens, and you're like, no, I mean, like, I listen. A young man's game is like the targeted, like just like deliberate flatulence. I feel like old man's game is just involuntary, unwitting flatulence. Whenever, and I'm there.
Oh my god. That's disgusting. I mean, we're gonna go into this next little worry, but Daniel, I just want to make sure that you say everything you wanted to say before we move on.
What was I saying? I was just gonna say there's room to grow on the vitamin because there's two a day and three a day
Mm.
pill cases. So you've got room to grow.
I
That's
love that
amazing. I'm
idea.
Yeah.
I'm on like the US bus, but you're saying that there's like a double decker like UK bus and a triple decker bus that I can get on?
Yeah, for exactly. For
Amazing.
like Northern Africa or something. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank God. All right. Well, you know, Kevin may have buried Lee, but Dana, we got to know what's going on. What's your little worry?
Oh my well, I think Kevin was trying to segue for us. My little worry is just farting. You know,
Mhm.
I it
Mhm.
it
I didn't realize.
I well, I mean, I worry about making a bad impression on people, bothering them, upsetting them, mostly just embarrassing myself. I had a very bad fart one time in a college class. I mean, really was accidental and very loud, and it was like a seminar. I mean, this was not like a lecture hall. Um, and I think I made some kind of like a Nutty Professor reference, which was not super outdated at the time, but a little bit already. Um,
What was the
and
reaction of your
and that sort of
classmates?
diffused the tension.
What was the reaction of your classmates? Did they laugh or were they mortified?
To the fart or the joke.
To both.
I think they were. Yeah, I think I handled it better than I can't even think of a better way to have handled it because it went from to sort of awkward, but like awkward laughter, but like appreciative that I'd yeah, it was strange. But anyway,
It's nothing that an Eddie Murphy impression won't soothe.
Yeah.
You just smooth it right over.
exactly.
Oh my god. So, yeah, I mean, I identify with this. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of anxiety, I feel like, about there's so many things that are, like, taboo to do that are, like, body related, that are not, like, necessarily, like, inappropriate, but, like, just things it's like people are like, "Oh my god, you burped. You're carrying a tampon in the office. Like, you farted in public." It's like we all
On
do
the
it.
promenade, you farted. Oh my.
Fortunately,
We're
it's
out
an
here
open air.
strolling with our bows and you passing wind on the promenade.
But I feel like, there have been times where I've physically hurt my body holding in farts in classrooms. Like, the amount of, like, internal damage that's happened, like, in classrooms to poor little, you know, gastrointestinal systems is insane. Like, do you feel like you hurt yourself, like, trying not to?
Yeah, it becomes uncomfortable when you really like hold it in, and then sometimes it's too late. Then you're like, okay, hold it in during the movie, and then like, okay, right after the movie ends. But by then it's like too late. You've just the damage has been done, and you feel lousy.
Right. It's diffused into your body. No, you are a fart.
You've absorbed it into your lungs. That's how the body works. So
Yeah, it goes into your bloodstream and then travels throughout your whole system.
Oh
Mhm.
god. So
Yeah.
has it been a relief being, like, alone? Just
oh
tooting all
yeah,
day?
yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Um,
I do.
It feels good. I mean, I've been in relationships where farting was acceptable, or at least haha. It was like sort of haha, like there he goes again. But but it wasn't
Old
going to threaten
Farty
anything,
McDaniel. Oh boy.
Oh,
There he goes
there he is
again.
with Chris. He's sitting there whittling my walking stick. But I eat a largely vegetarian diet,
You're
and
very healthy.
it does what it does. But it's nice, yeah, it's nice to not worry about it. One of the many perks of being home alone in my house for 13 months.
I have 2 kids, and Daniel, my worry is that they love farting too much. Um, I mean, most kids and most people still, it's a humorous thing. The tension that it breaks. I'm sure everybody in your class actually thought it was pretty funny that you ripped in class. My kids love and they love now making their farts as loud as possible. So they're getting pretty good at it, and I'm very proud, very very proud. My wife is mortified. But
I feel like farts are so like they're such a like they're so tortured. Like it's ridiculous to think about it that way, but it's just like, you know, there's something to be said about a well-timed fart that doesn't
Right.
cause pain for the person or like the community like who's smelling it. Like if a fart could be just a noise, like we would be so blessed. But the fact of the
Mm.
matter is that methane's part of this equation, and it can be really mortifying.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Has your pandemic existence been? I mean, have you really? Are you just like walking in tall cotton as far as your flatulence level goes?
Well, I do not know that expression, but I like it. Walking in tall cotton. It's not overwhelming me.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. And what's really, I mean, it's one of the pleasures of. You haven't noticed I've muted and unmuted myself a number of times already, but it's a nice idea. If you because you can't smell across the cameras. So when you take out the sound, I mean, it almost didn't happen.
It's true. It's very much a if a man farts in the woods and nobody heard it, did it really happen kind of
Yeah.
situation.
If Daniel rips ass on Zoom, did it smell? That's what I have
I
to.
Go ahead.
Well, working outdoors, it's a huge blessing. This is not a concern of mine at all, and I empathize with the office worker. I empathize with the closed quarters office mates. I work out of doors and can just do whatever I need. Really,
There's so many things I wanna say about just the fart etiquette in my house that, like, I just can't I just feel like I can't say it. Like, I just can't say it. There's
you
there's
can't
some
betray Nate's confidence on how you both have agreed upon managing
yeah, there's
flatulence.
just some
Yeah,
things that are just between people who are in love,
sure,
and
sure.
I will say though that there are many times where I will run into other rooms and just fart and then come back into a room. Um, anyway,
Casey, say no more. Come on, you're already
no,
divulging.
that's it's not that it's embarrassing. It's mostly just if I got to I just we have I think we have to move on because I'm feeling compelled to share, and I feel like if I do, there's no going back.
I will say, Daniel, we all worry about flatulence. So thank you for sharing your worry.
And just getting it out there, honestly, because the people they care about it. It's not always funny. Farts aren't always funny. Okay. Um,
Thank you. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. I hope you'll stand up for me the next time we're live in person and I fart backstage right before show, which I usually do, and people are bothered and pointing fingers.
I will stand up for you. That is legitimately, like, I feel like I now will be more empathetic.
I mean, in the green room, it's like farts are falling off of the walls. So if you're feeling self-conscious about
Are you
farting in the
so?
I feel
What were you
like
gonna say?
I'll try to do it in the hallway. I won't do it right in the green room. The hallway, like right as we're about to just in transit. You want to
yeah.
leave it and go.
I like entering from the wings and just crop dusting the audience, like right past the audience. So when I go on stage and they're just like, what is what is that? Clap guy?
All right. I think
Sorry.
We can move on
All right.
to my big worry. All right. You guys, there's lots of things to be worried about. I just want to frame our big worries for our audience a little bit. We know that there are huge things in our world to be worried about, but on Little Worry, Big Worry, we talk about stuff that's super personal, super related to us, and not something that's universal. So, just wanted to frame that and share that, you guys. I'm worried that I'm addicted to spending money.
Whoa. Whoa. Have you been on a binge lately, Casey? What's
Just for
happening?
31 years. I mean, uh, I will say, and then I definitely want to hear what other people think about this because I know it might not be like universal, but it's certainly relatable. Um, the I also feel like I'm addicted to just going and doing some things, and that doing things is kind of related to like spending money. Like I want to
Hmm.
go get a coffee so that I can like go do something and then like come back. And I'm not doing that all the time. Sometimes I'll do it. But then it's like I'm sitting in my house and I'm like, I wonder what people have put online consignment. I really could use a pair of shoes I don't need. And I'm just scrolling, liking things, like bargaining with people about consignment stuff that I don't need. And now I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm preparing for Nate and I's wedding, which is coming up in June, God willing. Uh, and now I just get to spend money like just wildly. I'm like
Hmm.
DJ, hair, bus. Like I'm just like, yeah, like it's like absolutely intoxicating. It's very exciting. And
It sounds Casey, it sounds like you like the whole process too. Like you're talking about kind of like finding and bargaining and then pulling the trigger and like there's I mean the whole deal is involved in your enjoyment. Is that right or
sometimes I think
no?
for thrifting, I like bargaining. For and I know Daniel's a little bit different to this because he's a bargain finder in all things, and I'm excited to hear about Daniel's thoughts. But I just want things to be done and be good. I'm like, I want the
Mm,
best. I want to find it fast, but I also want it to not be that. I don't want to break the bank, but
mhm.
I'm like, but that's the terrible thing. So that's why sometimes I reach indecision and then I'm like, I have anxiety about making decisions because I can't just spend the money and feel that hit of dopamine.
this is I very much identify with this problem too much. So, um, you know, it. I don't know to what extent you're allowed to spend money through work, but I think that that's a nice way to discharge some of the energy is when it's not your money. Spending money is a little less anxiety provoking, and you get some of the same. Like when I go to my chiropractor, my employer will reimburse me for that charge. But
Nice.
I put it on my credit card, and then there it goes. And I had, like you said, it's sort of a tiny outing, and and it's like doing something nice for yourself. But I don't have to worry about what it costs so much because they're just going to send me a check. Um,
The
yeah,
phrase tiny outing is my favorite. I like that exactly what it is. Like, I love a tiny outing. Has a it's like a small story. Like, I went to the store, I I got something, I came home, and now I have it. Like, it's just ver anyway. The other thing I wanted to say is, I did have a lot of thrill when we were still doing events at my job, and, like, yeah, there's just big budget things you just gotta, like, I love, like, buying stuff, checking it off the list. Um, I we had a gift that we needed to take care of this year for a bunch of people, and I researched, like, what the best version of the gift was, and I, like, found all the dollar amounts and, like, how long it was gonna ship from where and da da da, and it was, like, to me, I was like, it was so exciting. And, I wonder what it's like because this feels something that's intrinsic inside of me, and I can't tell if it's tied to the tiny outing or if it is legitimately hooked to money. I'm sure it's just intrinsically linked.
Hmm. As an old man, I am incredibly frugal and slash cheap. And so I'm
Ooh.
really having a hard time connecting with this.
Oh,
I love listening to you and Daniel talk about this, but I hate spending, not hate spending money. I love avoiding spending money and
oh,
being cheap and like making something myself or jury rigging something instead of buying the actual thing. It's interesting. I don't want to like I don't want to talk about that, but just the thrill of spending money. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I can't connect with that.
I just will say that it's interesting because the idea of making something in order to avoid spending money, to me, is the I don't understand. Not not because I think it's a bad idea, but to me, I'm like, "Oh, a project, that I gotta get some stuff to do my project." Like, I
Yeah.
already am framing it as, like, I gotta
Same.
get the
Yeah,
things.
same here.
You're the same thing, Daniel?
Oh yeah. Yeah, projects cost way more money than just buying the thing pre-made.
Exactly.
Always.
No, I change my own oil on my car and it's cheaper. And I like feel like I pulled one over on big oil. Like I
No
got my
way. You lost the
yeah.
time. Time is money, baby.
Time is my yeah. That's fair.
That's also true. But that's
The
a service. I mean, I will say
Oh
that I
yeah.
cut my own hair. I don't know if you can tell.
Oh, no, it looks good.
It says, "Oh yeah." Um, I've been
I think it
cutting
looks
my
good.
own hair for a few months now since a little scare with my with the whole COVID thing, but also particularly with my hairdresser. Um, so and that yeah, I get like a little bit of a thrill out of that, but more for me, it's buying the thing, but getting an absurdly good deal on it.
Hmm.
So it's sort of a bit of both.
I wanna get better at that because I wanna get and I've been so here's something else that's embarrassing. I spend too much time on, like, The Strategist because 'cause I'm like, there's lots of, like, um, it's not like Consumer Reports. It's not kind of like, "Here's the optics on XYZ items." It's like, "Here's some really stylish stuff that's affordable." And I'm like, "Ooh, do I need it? No, but I'll look at it." And then there's some months that it's like, "Here's what our editors bought in July." And I'm like, "What did they buy in July?" And there's this adorable, like, fleecy, like, little, like, jacket I got to, like, wear during my Zoom meetings during the winter that I'm like, "I never would have known this." Like, in some ways, like, recommending, um, just, like, little pleasures, like, tiny outings and little pleasures, um, to me, I never would have known this band. I never would have known about this band, Tiny F like, Zoom Fleece.
Little pleasures.
Yeah. Yes. I never would have known about it if I didn't read this stupid article about this. And then the other thing is I also am, you know, very aware that the quality of things that I buy, like I have a certain like issues with like I like don't like buying furniture that's like particle board. Like not because I think it's like I will gladly like pick one up off the street. I'm like, this table looks fine. Great. But if I'm gonna go buy something, I, like, really want it to be something that would take a long time to, like, burn if it was on fire. Like, and I'm like, "Okay." So that's the kind of deals I do where I'm like, "What is something old and abandoned that I can go scoop up
Yeah.
for, like, a reasonable price?" Whereas I know if it was brand new and made and that goes for, like, clothes, all this stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's why thrifting excites me.
Yeah. Where was it made? How much does it cost? And how long will it burn?
How long
If we're on the same page, you could make a deal today, shopkeeper. If it burns for a good long time, Casey's buying.
Are you identifying, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love this idea of the like the high quality, the heirloom piece,
Yes.
like this, let this be the last one of these that I buy. I mean, I think that is a nice counterweight to the shopping obsession, which for me it's almost painful. I actually talked to my therapist about shopping quite a bit, um, because it's this moment of like I over research almost everything, down the little things to the really big things. And what kind of keeps me sane a little bit is that I try to make some of them like the last one I'll ever have to get, or at
Yes.
least for like 10, 15, 20 years.
Yes, like, ending to the decisions, like, be like, "No more of this decision."
Yeah. Like
Mm.
a down comforter. I spent way too much on one a couple winters ago, but they last 30 years.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It's
30
amazing.
years. I mean, like that just like it doesn't almost doesn't matter how much it costs when you amortize it or whatever, right? I mean, it's just this like such a good feeling to just be done with that decision. It's like you'll probably be with that comforter longer than with a spouse.
It's true.
Probably.
God willing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so that I love that so much.
Really.
Well, the thing, the pain you're describing, that is something that and I, like, try to, like, offload it onto others. Like, that's why I'm, like, so into the recommendations of not that, like not in the kind of, like, Amazon, if you buy this, you should also get this kind of recommendations, like, in the and honestly, like, not too much in the reviews. I will say I've gotten more into looking at reviews because it helps me identify good quality things as opposed to poor quality things. Um, but I really love somebody being like, "I stand by this," and me being like, "I would love to trust you right now and
Mm.
just spend my money like a preferred vendors list, like let me die and go to heaven. Like thank you for doing this work for me. God bless you."
They filtered it right down. And I love meeting, yeah, the person that I'm buying the thing from,
Oh,
that they
that's
made
nice.
it. Yeah. The
That's
the person who grew it or the person who made it or yeah. And Daniel, the like heirloom quality stuff, it I think a lot about it like generationally of like, well, what have my parents like, maybe given to me? And like, can I think like generationally with my kids, and find something really, really nice that they would appreciate in 30 or 40 or 50 years.
there's some really beautiful stuff, and I will stop talking about this because I mean we're in the thick of it, but uh or I think we're in the thick of it and we're coming to a close, but there was this website that was called Twisted Sifter that was, like, really into, like, right post cranky phase. And
This is D. Snyder's follow-up to after he was a radio DJ?
no, no. I it was just this,
Twisted Thifter? That's,
Twisted Sifter.
oh, it's
So
so great.
it was kind of, it just captured cool photos and kind of, like, image, collections and stuff. And there was one that was it was called uh, people taking pictures of the things like the 5 things you'd grab, like if there was a fire. And like I'm not kidding about this fire stuff. Like, um, and they took like pictures of like a camera or like a guitar and like a nice pair of shoes. And it's like there are just some things like I really do aim to in some ways, like, know what my 5 things are, like, and if I'm gonna buy stuff, like, always striving for it to be that, like, if it can be something like the down comforter that I could never buy again, like, just have it just be good. Just have and not break the bank, but, you know, anywho, the uh, uh, oh, no. I had one other thing to say, and I lost it.
Daniel, besides your pill bottle and pill distributor, what else would you grab in your 5 things?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a really hard question. Um, Jeez, I don't know. I mean, the phone, obviously, um, and a fire. Nothing, nothing. Honestly,
Yeah,
Yeah. I would
nothing's
grab
worth
my
really risking your life for.
that's
yeah.
true.
I would grab my Lake Wobegon tapes. Um,
I don't know what
I
that
would
I
I would grab my Asper cream. Um,
Oh, no, it's
I would
old
grab
man.
my. I'm just gonna-
It's honestly there's pets and people to worry about. Daniel's right. I mean, there are some things, you know, that come to mind. As I get older, they change, but, uh, it's interesting. It's very
I
interesting.
love that you both are so conscious about what you buy. Because I think that's a thing that oftentimes happens. People just are maybe not verging on like a pathological or a really like mental illness related manifestation of like shopaholic, whatever the medical term for that is, but like that you're both so thoughtful about what you consume. I think
Maybe
that's really redeeming or
maybe
really nice.
the way to think about it is, like, we're obsessed with it,
Yeah.
not addicted in some ways. Cause yeah, interesting. Alright, y'all.
Well, sorry, just to hear you both talk about it, you're like really engaged in the process of like, not throwing money around or, that everything has meaning and the process to acquiring it is very conscious and very thoughtful. As someone who's cheap as shit, I'm like, well, I appreciate that.
Maybe that's the next podcast idea.
I'm cheap
Just
as
to
shit.
shop. Well, just to shop, just deep discussions of shopping and strategies and the I don't know the cultural and historical implications of it.
Daniel, I would pay to listen to you talk about how you find deals. Legitimately. Um,
Or just or just hot deals. We could just call it hot deals.
hot deals, Daniel. All right. Well, I think it's time to be bringing home Daniel. We want to know what your big worry is.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to share my big worry. So this worry is that I am almost not at all on the social media platforms. Um, I won't say I'm totally off. I'm not the guy who's like, oh, I deleted my Facebook in like 2007 because I never had the balls to do that. But if you post something lovely on Facebook, I almost certainly won't see it. And same goes with Instagram. And your Twitter is very funny, I'm sure, but I probably won't see that either. And I feel a little bad about it. The reason that I worry about it is that I think, especially in such an isolating year, I still didn't go on any of them. And that I kind of worry, like, what does it, am I missing something? Am I missing like potential social connections? Do people forget that I exist because they don't see what I made for dinner on a Saturday night? um, so, and then I just wonder, am I my our friend weakening? Am I just, or I don't know what I'm missing.
Whew. This just brought me so many feelings. Like both of it brought envy and then true like there is like a that is the thing that keeps me there is that fear. And I don't know. I don't know. I
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you, it's real. I mean, I'm surprised you guys remember I existed and invited me to the show because a lot of people forget.
I don't. I never forget you. I
I Yeah, I don't engage on social media really at all, which is a problem when you're a performer and you have things you want to promote and get out there. As I learn over and over again, because I do not engage super intently at all. And for me, there are two reasons. One is like I don't go on there because Daniel, you alluded to this, like I don't wanna see the trivial, and, like, it's filled with what I consider trivial, and I just don't give a shit, like but it's also filled every once in a while with something important and something impactful and something that I am struck by. But I don't know, I'm often like, I can't be bothered or I have other priorities besides sifting through the trivial and the actually significant. And the second is, like, I'm worried that this was from when I was in like college and early professional life that I would post something or say something or comment on something and just be say something really stupid or something that was construed in a
Yeah.
insensitive or offensive way. And then I was just like, that means I'm just not going to engage at all because I'm scared of it.
interesting. You know, so I'm on there a lot. I'm on there too much. Um and Daniel, what's funny is like you're like, am I missing anything? And like here's what I'm gonna say. I feel like yes, you are missing stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, but I'm missing what you're doing. Like it's more like this idea. I feel like all of a sudden there's like this. You've just really draw illustrated for me this like duality of like people's experiences of like not that just that there's a lazy like, not that it's lazy, but there is a convenience to having this thing, this kind of, like, constant conversation, but now I'm, like, wondering what are you what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, yeah, no, that's a really good question. So the first thing I'll say is that Kevin's two reasons are definitely two of my reasons. The third one is that I don't want to know what's going on in a lot of people's lives. Not everybody, but I would say most people I don't want to know. And I'm punished. I'm punished. I went on I was talking to some guy and he asked if I had an Instagram. And I was like, technically, yeah. I mean, I used to post like 2 or 3 times a year, just something like completely absurd. And they're still there and they're still kind of funny, I think. But you've got to read the comment or the photo. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I went on just to like sort of confirm, like, is that my Instagram handle? And and I discovered just things I didn't want to know. I mean, it just was like this guy had been dating, like was engaged. I mean,
Mm,
and then like to someone he'd known for like 6 weeks, and I just was like, that just makes me feel gross on every level. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't gone onto Instagram. And so it's like stuff like that where that's the reason. On top of, yes, I don't really care about your food or your pet or whatever. No offense. Uh, but some of it is like I don't want to see it. I don't want to compare myself to other people's lives, and especially not exes, and I have a lot of them.
Casey, I love that book that you offered because
Yeah.
it talks about like cultivating a rich, like offline life and
mhm.
not being fooled into thinking that like, that it has to be like that your self-worth and your like quality of life, the fullness of your life is defined digitally in that digital space. But rather like a combination and making sure that you are thinking about your disconnected life in a really active way, as opposed to thinking of how your active real life can be displayed and curated online.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm like, it doesn't interest me in the least. So I'm like, I feel happy that I can just think about it, and at your recommendation, how to do nothing, read about it.
This idea of uh convenience versus intentionality, I think is like
Mhm.
the the long road where social media takes us. Like the further away from social media you are, the more I feel like the more intentional your life is, because there isn't kind of this like passive experience of connection, as opposed to with a further away from social media experience. You can really specifically cultivate like who you're talking to, what you're doing, what you choose to read, um whose stupid shit that you happen to experience, um and then all of a sudden like your time fills up, you get more time, and then your time fills up more in different ways, and it's hard to it's when you're in it, I don't know, Daniel, I really feel like you're very, I don't want to be like you're lucky, like I'm happy for you that this is your worry, but at the same time it's just scary because it's like both sides suck. They do, because you wanna feel
Yeah.
connected.
No, I think that's right. And it's definitely not that I take all that time that I'm saving and spend it on things that are enlightening and productive and joy filled. I mean, there might be a little bit of that here and there, um, but I wish I could say that. I mean, and I do like I think this is maybe a slightly better way of doing it. I mean, I still need like that daily social interaction, of course, but I text people, and so I have
Yes.
like there's people that I text like every day, and sometimes they sort of rotate. Like you could look back at my phone, it's like, oh wow, like I used to text with that person like a lot, and that kind of faded. But yeah, there's like a few people that through the week like I text with quite a bit, and that probably fulfills some of the need, and in some ways that's nice because it's more intentional. It's like I know they're choosing to respond to me when I write something funny. It's not like to impress like 300 people, or it's just like I'm writing it to that person. If
Yes.
it's a really good text, I'll send it to a couple people, but mostly it's for one person. And but then the downside of that is that it's a smaller, I don't get like lots of different people's input on something. If that's a thing you get on Facebook, I don't know.
There's a
You
value
can.
to, like, I think that people will call it, like, hive mind, you know what I mean? Of like, "Hey, hive mind, like, what optometrist should I go to? I just
Right.
moved to XYZ place," or, "I
Yeah.
hate my" I don't know, elementary school, like, where should I there is, I feel like there is some benefit, but then it's like, who's seeing it? Whose recommendations are you getting? It's like,
Yeah.
like, is this just kind of like the cattle of people? You're, like, just curious about what they think, and then ultimately, like, you're gonna text your mom, and she'll be like, you know
Right.
Daniel, I'm like 100% with you on the text connection. I like the some of the group threads, the thread with my siblings. Like, I feel in that venue on that platform of just like a text chain. It's like such a great conversation. And I know that probably I could engage with that on Instagram or Facebook or in some level, but God, it's like it feels so wonderful to have like a great text message run with like my buddies from college, and I do feel incredibly close to them in that space.
No, I think I guess the other part of it is like I would have to really rethink who I was following. I know all the platforms are different and they serve different purposes and all that, but I would I mean, I actually looked, so I have to go on Facebook once in a while for work. And this morning I was trying to promote an event to a page, and that just blows my mind how to try to do that stuff. But I think I figured it out. Anyway, but I was going through, it was like, do you want to like suggest people like the page? And I was like, oh boy. So then I start scrolling through my friends, and there's like, not to brag, but there's like, I have like a bunch of Facebook friends somehow, like 600. I don't know how many, like a bunch. Probably less than people who use Facebook a lot, but like more than I remembered. And I'm kind of scrolling through, and even just seeing like a 3 centimeter photo and a name was like emotionally way more than I could handle at work. Like it just, just people from like, oh God, who is that? Oh wow. Oh yeah, that guy. It's just like going back to like whatever, it's like 20 years, however long it's been. I mean, 18, 15 years. I don't know. It was college. It's been a while.
Oh God, yeah.
Mm.
You're right. Facebook is now really old.
So it's just kind of a lot. But I guess if I were going to engage more, I'd have to be more thoughtful about like who do I want to engage with, and like I'd have to start following like, because I know people like, it's some of those are not just social, right? Like Twitter, you're also getting like people in the zeitgeist, like thought leaders and whatever, journalists and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I have to do a lot of research to figure out like who the hell. I don't know. It's just too much at this point.
I feel that crushing feeling too, and even being in it, you know, of like, ugh, I need to really rethink this. And then it's like, yeah, it just kind of feels like a freaking room that you throw all your junk in, like, like a room that no one looks in your house or something, or like y- yeah,
Back
Mhm.
I'm
here.
in here. I'm in that room. Um, but just like it does kind of feel like this like untenable thing in some ways. It the only thing that I've found remotely valuable in this past year is, in some ways having a more wide variety of life experiences on my feed, like just and I'm like trying to kind of like and now I'm like, "Oh, well, what if you had like more meaningful like a more like rich and meaningful relationship with a more diverse group of people like in text conversation or like what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh, you're right, oh my god, it's so passive, everything is so passive. So Daniel, I you sharing this worry is be making me want to be more intentional with how I share my news with the people I care about, how I share my the things that I feel like are important with the people I care about, um because it's an evil place, the social meds, and uh you shouldn't feel like you have to be there because it's insane that everyone's there.
Thank you. Well, that's I mean, that's a nice takeaway. I'm not sure that I'm right. In the sort of not being there. I think there's certain ways that it's kind of an easy way out to just avoid social interaction in some ways. But and if I really like, I could experiment. I really haven't in a very long time with Facebook. Like I could try it for a month and see if it just makes me feel terrible about myself, which I guess it probably would, but maybe it wouldn't.
Oh
I
no.
share all of your apprehensions and hesitations. And I also am like a dad who's got 2 kids who are already on they're not on TikTok or um, Facebook yet, but they're on like games where they're chatting with people and they're already in this space that I'm like, "Oh, I feel so uneasy about how I interact in this space." And like to help and have to guide children through it. Oh, it's freaking real anxiety inducing.
Don't envy that.
Daniel, something that was coming into my mind was oh gosh, the last thing that you said. There's gonna be a lot of edits of me being like, what was I gonna say? But you were saying you don't think you're right
Well, I was saying, I could take I could try it.
Oh,
It's not gonna, it's not gonna be the death of me to give it a shot and just see how it feels and
right.
what
I
happens.
I remember what you said that made me be like, "Oh," like, this idea that, like, it's this reckoning of, like, feeling like you're judging yourself and, like, having to deal with, like, feelings that, like, you know, truthfully, if you never saw XYZ person, like, there are some people like, I'm a Facebook blocker. I've blocked some people on Facebook. I'm like, "I don't wanna see these people because it's too upsetting." Now, later, I probably could see them on Facebook and I'd be okay. But kind of having that constant weird open wound vibe where it's like, I would like this to be closed. Um, I totally understand that, and, like, um, there is some pretty deep feelings that can come from that kind of, both I think the self-judgment, but also the kind of, like, dredging shit up is not fun. It's not good. Facebook's
I
great for that.
I think Daniel, just stick with the tiny pleasures, tiny outings and little pleasures. No need to go on the Facebook. Just tiny outings.
We gotta make a social media that's just, like, you going on it's basically like a video game of just, like, going to get a coffee or, like, uh, pretending to buy something. How's that sound for social media? Pretending that you're shopping. Oh my god.
I would follow that Instagram.
You guys, I think that we did it.
Great worries this week. I love
Yeah.
that.
Another one. Worries.
Great worries, guys. We really good job, team. We did it.
Thank you guys so much. This was lovely. And I do feel very it does feel really meaningful to connect uh with you, Daniel, in this form. And um yeah, this is just really nice.
I agree.
We've never
Let me know
forgotten.
if you need me back. You didn't forget.
We've
You
never
forgot the
forgotten you.
basis. Thank you.
Mm.
Well, thank you. Tell people, just maybe do a Facebook post on my behalf that just
I'll
says,
tag. Did you know Daniel Davidson is still here?
Spotted.
hey, do you guys remember Daniel Davidson's still a thing?
He's still a thing. Oh my god. Speaking of it's a
Yeah.
thing. Daniel,
Yeah.
we're gonna recommend something good to each other, but you're still gonna be here with us. So if you have anything
Okay.
you want to recommend as well as part of this, please do. And then we're gonna have you tell the people where they could find you on social media if you wanted to go.
Sure.
Um,
Of course.
or just like, I don't know, at whatever you want. Direct them
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
um
Plugs.
some sort of plug. All right, here we go. I'll go first. So on this podcast, and Daniel, you've been spared, but Kevin and I basically constantly talk about sports all the time. Um, and that is not the only connection that Kevin and I have. We were both jocks that then went to college for theater, which I'm sure some people can assume about me, but maybe didn't assume about Kevin. I think my face and my hands might give it away. But but so I wanted to make kind of a theatery recommendation.
Oh,
You,
yes.
you had been talking about on the other episodes about how you love like bold, big voiced singers, female leads. And I was
Yes.
like, okay, well, I'm going to give you a little filmed version of August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom to watch.
Ooh,
Um,
yes.
this was directed by George C. Wolfe, who is a theater director. I don't know how much, I'm sure he's done movies too, but musicals is what I think he wrote
Mm.
musicals. So it's very theatrical. It feels like when you see a filmed play and it's like it's very static. This still has like the the luxurious like design of a play, but it also has like the like the movement of a film. Kevin, you're gonna love it.
Awesome. Oh,
You're
I
gonna
love
love it.
it. I
It's on
look forward to
Netflix.
watching it. Oh, then I've seen that. Not
You've
I haven't
watched it already.
watched I haven't watched it, but I've seen it on my main screen there.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
Awesome. I will watch it because I trust your recommendations. They have all been fantastic. Um, Mine is eating related. I eat an apple a day, and
You do.
usually two, and sometimes three apples a day. I love apples. I eat many of them. Summer and fall, I will eat 2 to 3 apples a day. I discovered an envy apple. Have you well, first, do you like apples, Casey, or are you a
I do like apples. I should eat them more. Daniel, are you an apple fan?
Do not like them. No.
Really?
Yeah. I'll eat one, but it's more out of obligation.
oh, obligation? I like this
Envy
we
apples?
are
Is
at
this like a new apple?
it's new to me certainly, and I think they do come up with like new varietals of apples pretty regularly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, like kind of underground, I don't know if it's an underground apple, but lesser known apple is a jazz apple. You ever heard of a jazz apple? Oh
No.
my God, it's as smooth as it sounds. It is so holy cow. Jazz apple. An envy apple. I've never had one, and I have been eating the cookies out of them. Like I just eat envy apples like crazy.
All right, I gotta
Um,
ask you.
yeah.
Um, talk to me about the like the general nature of this apple. Like, if you could
Crisp,
say
crisp,
that's what I was
very
asking for. That's all I need to know. Is it crisp?
oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank
No,
you.
I am
I'm like,
a
I'm not gonna eat it if it's not crisp.
no, no, I am a crisp, yeah, all the way,
Amelia
and this
shit doesn't go over well in this
no.
house.
Oh, not for me either. Those I will eat out of obligation, but at the other end of the spectrum, the really crisp I'm not
You will
tart, like
enthusiastically consent to a
oh my
crisp
god.
apple. Okay.
100%. Yeah, golden delicious and yeah, the jazz are incredible and this new apple, an envy apple. I'll drop some off because they're at the Stop and Shop in Glastonbury near the boathouse. So I have been buying a ton of them. I'll drop one or two off and put it in the fridge for a couple hours and then delight abounds.
This is wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to get free apples. Daniel, it's we're throwing it to you.
Well, I feel like I feel like I should recommend some like deal websites. Is-
Sure.
I mean, so if you want like garbage, mostly garbage and headphones, like if you need like a new pair of headphones 2 or 3 times a week, I would recommend slickdeals.net. This one is going to give you mostly headphone deals and like price mistakes on Amazon, so you could get like a lot of like tiny bags of potato chips for the same price that you would pay for like one normal size bag of potato chips. You'll get like
Mm.
40 little bags and they'll show up at your house. Strange. It's just strange and mostly a waste of time. But I've gotten some good things on there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. If you want to go full couponing, I got stuff for that too. But I think I'm really gonna make it so I will never get a date in my whole life if I go into the couponing.
Well, I
But there's
appreciate it. You are the master, and we learn from the best. So slickdeals.net. Can't wait to buy so many potato chips.
And I can't wait to buy garbage.
Oh my god, you guys, this has been amazing. Daniel, thank you so
good.
much for taking the
Thank
time to talk to us, and thank you everyone for listening, and this has been really fun.
Thank you. I really want my virtual background to just crumble right now.
I will work
for
on
you
the
to see the
CGI.
the matrix that's behind it.
Nothing is real. Psh, all of our shit crumbles to the ground.
We'll add that in post.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Casey, amazing to see you. And
You too.
thank you to all our listeners.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks so much.